There are many lessons to learn from Father Abraham. I'll summarize his story, give you some key points, and then we'll go into a negative lesson, a positive lesson, the main lesson, and then a notable point. Abraham, originally named Abram, was born in Ur of the Chaldeans to his father Terah. He married Sarai, later Sarah, who was barren. In Ur, Abraham lived among people who worshipped many gods. God called Abraham to leave his homeland, saying, "Leave your country, your people, your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation and will bless you. I will make your name great and you will be blessed. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you I will curse, and all peoples of the earth will be blessed through you." At the age of 75, Abraham departed with Sarah, his nephew Lot, and their household. They first traveled to Haran, where they stayed until Terah's death. Then they journeyed to Canaan, the promised land. Upon arriving, Abraham traveled through the land, building altars to worship God at significant locations like Shechem and Bethel. He had some early challenges. Soon after arriving in Canaan, a severe famine forced Abraham to seek refuge in Egypt. Fearing for his life, he asked Sarah to say that she was his sister. She was his half-sister, actually. Pharaoh took Sarah into his palace, but returned her after God sent plagues upon his household. Despite this lapse of faith, God protected both Abraham and Sarah. God repeatedly promised Abraham's descendants as numerous as the stars, despite his wife's barrenness. When Abraham expressed concern about remaining childless, God formalized his promises through a covenant ceremony. God had Abraham arrange sacrificed animals and a smoking firepot and blazing torch representing God's presence, passing between the pieces, symbolizing an unbreakable promise. After 10 years without a child, Sarah suggested Abraham have a child through her Egyptian servant Hagar. Hagar conceived and bore Ishmael. However, tension arose between Sarah and Hagar, leading to Hagar's temporary flight into the desert, where God met her and promised that Ishmael would also become a great nation. When Abraham was 99, God appeared again, changing his name from Abram, exalted father, to Abraham, father of many. God established circumcision as the sign of the covenant and changed Sarai's name to Sarah. God promised that Sarah would bear a son within a year. Abraham's nephew Lot had settled in Sodom. When God revealed his plan to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah for their wickedness, Abraham interceded, negotiating with God to spare the cities if righteous people could be found there. Though the cities were ultimately destroyed, Lot and his daughters were saved through Abraham's intercession. As promised, Sarah conceived and bore Isaac when Abraham was 100 years old. The joy of Isaac's birth was followed by conflict, leading to Hagar and Ishmael's expulsion into the desert, where God again protected them. Years later came Abraham's greatest test. God commanded him to sacrifice Isaac. Abraham conceded in faith, but at the crucial moment, God provided a ram as a substitute, having proven Abraham's complete trust. After Sarah's death, at 127 years old, Abraham purchased the cave of Machpelah as a burial site, his first property ownership in the Promised Land. He later married Keturah, having more children, but established Isaac as his heir. Abraham died at the age of 175, having seen God's faithfulness and the beginning fulfillment of his promises. Father Abraham demonstrated trust in God's promises despite seemingly impossible circumstances. God showed his constant fulfillment of promises, even when delayed. In his story, we see the establishment of a pattern of how God relates to his people through promises and obligations. Initiating God's plan to bless all peoples through Abraham's descendants. We see that in the story as well, revealing how God works through imperfect people who trust in him. Progressive revelation, showing how God gradually revealed his plan and purpose. Justification by faith, establishing the principle that righteousness comes through faith. Father Abraham's story has become foundational for three major world religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. His life demonstrates how a single person's faith can impact history through generations of descendants and believers. Become a member of the channel and get exclusive members-only content, courses, articles, audio, and much more, all in one place. We add new materials every single month, and we'd love to have you. Check out the links in the description or in the links for the channel. There are so many lessons to learn as a man from the story of Father Abraham. Let me lay out some key points from his life. The name change. No longer shall your name be Abram, but your name shall be Abraham. Now the Lord said to Abraham, go from your country and your kin and your father's house to the land that I will show you. These are the generations of Terah. Terah fathered Abraham, Nahor, and Haran fathered Lot. Abraham and Nahor took wives. The name of Abraham's wife was Sarai, but Sarai was barren. She had no child. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make you a great name. The deception in Egypt. Please say that you are my sister, that it may go well with me because of you. Separation from Lot. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abraham's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. The rescue of Lot. When Abraham heard that his kinsman had been taken captive, he led forth his trained men. On that day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, to your offspring I give this land. And Sarah, Abraham's wife, took Hagar the Egyptian, her servant, and gave her to Abraham, her husband, as a wife. Circumcision covenant. This is my covenant which I shall keep. Every male among you shall be circumcised. The three visitors. The Lord appeared to him by the oaks of Mamre, as he sat at the door of his tent in the heat of the day. Intercession for Sodom. Will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked? The birth of Isaac. Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the time of which God had spoken to him, sending away Hagar and Ishmael. So Abraham rose early in the morning and took bread and a skin of water and gave it to Hagar. Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering. Abraham lifted his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him was a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. Abraham weighed out for Ephron the silver that he had named in the hearing of the Hittites 400 shekels of silver. Put your hand under my thigh, that I may make you swear by the Lord, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites. Abraham took another wife, whose name was Keturah. Abraham breathed his last and died in a good old age, an old man and full of years. There he built an altar to the Lord and called upon the name of the Lord. My Lord, if I have found favor in your sight, do not pass by your servant. Abraham believed God, and it was counted to him as righteousness, and he was called a friend of God. Father of faith. That is why it depends on faith, in order that the promise may rest on grace and be granted to all his offspring. Abraham's story is primarily found in the book of Genesis, with theological reflections appearing later in the New Testament. Subscribe to the channel, or St. Nicholas will slap you when you get to heaven. The negative lesson. It's important as a man that we take the lessons from the men in the Bible. One thing we learn that Father Abraham did was listen to his wife instead of God. Sarai bullied Abraham actually, and Abraham, instead of being the leader that a man is supposed to be over his wife, gave in, perhaps because he wanted to. When Sarai was not standing on the word of God and what God had told them that they would have a child, and was doubting, she sought to speed up the process by handing over her servant Hagar to Abraham, so that Abraham could have a child and Sarai could share in the joy of this child. And Sarai could, by a surrogate, have a child in the household, little Ishmael. This did not go well. She started to be proud and look down on Sarai because Sarai was barren. And Sarai, Abraham's wife, dealt harshly with Hagar. She ran away. An angel finds her by a spring, tells her to go back to her master Sarai, that her son would be blessed and would be a great nation. He would be like a wild donkey. His hand would be against everyone, and everyone's hand would be against him. Hagar then calls the God of Abraham the God of seeing, because God saw her when she was alone in the wilderness. Sarai blamed Abraham for how things had gone, even though she had suggested it. And Abraham, instead of standing on the word of God and God's command and God's promise, like his father before him, Adam, Abraham listened to his wife. He should not have done that. He should have stood on the word of God, trusted God, and waited for the promise to be fulfilled. When Abraham had Ishmael, he was 86 years old. And when God instituted circumcision, Abraham was 99 years old and Ishmael was 13 years old. So as a man of the way, remember to always stand on the promises of God. It is very simple to be led astray by this world, but especially in this world, a man is very easily led astray by a woman. The positive lesson. Father Abraham was wise and did not want to owe anybody anything, and did not want people to say, "Look, I have made Abraham rich." When his wife Sarai died at the age of 127, he bought her a large tomb and paid for it in full. He asked Ephron for the cave, and Ephron was willing to give it to him. But in the hearing and in the sight of Ephron's brothers and the people of the Hittites, Abraham counted out the silver, 400 silver shekels, and gave it to Ephron, paying for the land in full, so that he could bury his wife and would not be indebted to them, so that they could also not say, "Look what we have given him, we have made Abraham rich." This is a very important lesson for a man of the way to learn. To deal with people and make deals in such a way that people have no cause to say, "Look what we have done for you, look how we have made you rich, and look how much you owe us." It is a very useful concept we learn from Father Abraham. And you see the lesson there. Abraham did not owe them anything. He had paid in full what he owed, and he could bury his wife. The main lesson. The whole story of Abraham is characterized by faith, how he believed in God. When God said he should leave his house, he believed God about the promised land. He believed that he would be father of many, and he would be father of many nations, that they would be more than the sand on the seashore. He believed God for a son, and he believed God when God asked him to sacrifice that son. I put to you the main lesson that Abraham moved from a place where people worshipped many gods, where people were polytheists, to the belief in the one true God, where now the Christian is a monotheist. One God, not many gods. A notable point from the story of Father Abraham for the man of the way. Abraham's second wife was Keturah, and Abraham had 6 sons together with her: Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. According to the book of Genesis, Abraham married Keturah after the death of his wife, Sarah. Jewish tradition says that Keturah was a descendant of Noah's son, Japheth. These are the lessons from the story and the life of Father Abraham. Become a member of the channel and get exclusive members-only content, courses, articles, audio, and much more, all in one place. We add new materials every single month, and we'd love to have you. Check out the links in the description or in the links for the channel. Subscribe to the channel or St. Nicholas will slap you when you get to heaven.